Quite a while ago, I spoke about Streets of Rage, and man, a lot has happened since then. SEGA came out swinging with a presentation saying like a bunch of their old IPs are coming back, including a new Streets of Rage. Not only that, the fourth game actually came out. I guess that guy from that one video wasn't crazy.
I want a new Streets of Rage!
But also, SEGA showed off they're working on a new Golden Axe game. Funnily enough, I wanted to talk about this series years ago, likely right after that Streets of Rage episode, but I never got around to it and something else probably caught my attention. But gosh dang it, I'm here right now and I'm excited for whatever SEGA's cooking up, so let's talk about it. Golden Axe 1 came out in 1989, at least in America and Japan. Europe didn't see it until a year later. While I personally know it as a SEGA Megadrive game, there was an arcade version just a bit before that. The game opens up to this really awesome looking title screen and will gradually show you some gameplay, as well as a little backstory as to why these characters are going on this adventure. Death Adder has wielded the Golden Axe and basically just killed a bunch of people we care about and kidnapped the king and his daughter. Yep, that's it. That's about all you need. Go get him! There are 3 playable characters in Axe Battler, Tyrus Flare, and Gilius Thunderhead. Damn, can I just say how much of a badass name Gilius Thunderhead is? And can I just point out that I find it funny this man is named Axe Battler because he doesn't battle with an axe, but there is an Axe Battler who battles with a battle axe that isn't named Axe Battler that battles battle axe battlers. Or is it like a job statement? I battle those with axes. Golden axes. Now, before we get into the gameplay, I'd like to take a moment to talk about this video's sponsor. Me! Did you know that I stream 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 PM BST or GMT depending on daylight savings? Well, you should definitely come check it out and say hello and get ready for stupidity.
Good afternoon. My name is Prince His Royal Cock and I'm from France.
While I was live streaming, I remember talking about the fact that my next episode is on Golden Axe. And I specifically remember saying something along the lines of, oh, I'm sure Golden Axe 1 doesn't have first game syndrome as bad as Streets of Rage. Oh my god, I was wrong! The game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up, which means you're walking right and pummeling anything that stands in your way. And you have a few moves to keep in mind. You can jump, you can attack, and you can use magic. When it comes to the attacks, that's actually dependent on how far away you are from the enemy or what buttons you're pressing beforehand. You have your standard attack, which will just go into a normal combo if hitting the enemy, but if you're right next to an enemy, that standard attack becomes a throw attack. You can do a standard jump attack, or you can press jump and attack at the same time, and that will do like a different singular strike, often used to get you out of situations where you would be surrounded, similar to how Streets of Rage does it. When moving around, double pressing left or right will allow you to run, and while running you can hit the attack button to do a sort of lunge. Something else is that when you're running and jump, you get more air and your attack becomes kind of like a downward spike. This thing does a ton of damage, and if you can hit with it, it is totally worth doing. So yeah, there's quite a lot in your arsenal with just the standard attacks alone, but there's also the magic system. As you play, you'll come across these blue potions. This will fill your magic meter. The more full the meter, the more powerful this attack becomes, and it is screen wide. Regardless of how much magic you have stored up, it will hit every enemy on the screen. It just changes how much power is in that attack. This is incredibly useful for clearing out ads during a boss, or if there's just a certain encounter you really don't like, and the game has no problem in just throwing magic potions at you. And while it's not stated in-game, I am to assume that these characters are slightly different in their stats. Gilius only has 4 slots for magic, whereas Tyrus has 9! And it just makes me wonder if there are other aspects of the other characters that counterbalance this. Stronger melee attacks or a wider hitbox or something like that. Then again, it doesn't really matter how big your hitbox is, because the enemies is bigger. While your moveset is great and has a lot of options, that doesn't help when the game doesn't register those hits. And that gives the enemy a chance to combo you to death, draining so much health, and if you do not react instantly when you get up, they will do it again. The reaction time of these enemies is sometimes ridiculous. You do not get a chance to defend yourself. It doesn't help that the game overall feels kind of stiff to control. Now, I'm sure I could get used to it, but my problem is, well, well, I've been spoiled by 2. Not to get too far ahead of myself or anything, but 2's movement and controls just, oh my god, they're so good. And then there's 3. Yeah, we'll talk about that one soon. I often found myself knowing what moves I wanted to do, but the controls seemed to fight me doing those moves. Or maybe deciding to eat an input when I try to run, for example, which then gives the enemy a chance to but and my health disappears. You know what though? Credit to the enemy's AI in general, because like, they try to pincer you. They legit will go behind you as you attack someone else just to get a shot in. If you knock them far away from you, they will lunge at you. Or if they think they're going to lose, they'll just walk off screen, trapping you for eternity as they realize the only way you can progress is by killing them. You cheeky bitch. Yeah, while I will praise the AI in general, there are sometimes they'll be goofy. Actually, when I played this years ago, the opposite thing happened, where an enemy walked off screen and essentially just died. And it's even more funny when you realize that it was a boss that did that. You know, this, I hate to keep drawing comparisons, but this really is a Streets of Rage scenario again. Like, most of my complaints with the game are kind of similar, and it's mostly just because it's the first game. They're trying stuff out. It's not like it's completely awful, of course. I can get to the end of the game. It's just a bit of a struggle to get there. And oh, buddy, when I do get there, I wish I hadn't. This final boss destroys me every time. Near the end, you find out Death Adder wasn't actually the main bad guy. He was taking orders from Deathbringer, which is this guy. This guy sucks. He has skeletons which have infinite health, and every time he knocks you down, it is a guarantee he follows up with a magic attack. It is a 100% certainty that you will take extra damage every time you get hit. And I feel like I've only ever beaten him like once, maybe twice if I'm playing multiplayer. But everything leading up to this point is great. I absolutely love going through these levels. I mean, you're going to be seeing a lot of browns and grays and quite a few greens actually, but I really enjoy the vibe this game goes for in its sets. It's like we're actually going on a journey from one place to another, going through villages, getting rides on the back of a giant bird, walking up to Death Adder's castle and then going inside. It's just a really cool adventure, and what definitely helps is the music. There are some absolute classics in this, and like starting up the game and hearing Wilderness, anyone who grew up playing Sega games will hear this and be like, oh hell yeah, Golden Axe. But all the music really goes with the overall vibe the game tries to present. Fighting through tough enemies in this medieval fantasy with knights and barbarians and magic. It's honestly a great listen and motivates you to push forward. Like overall, this game is great. It has that classic difficulty you expect from essentially a ported arcade title, which now that I'm thinking about it might have something to do with why I've been struggling. But yeah, to me this is classic first game issues. But it's fun. And there's a reason people remember it fondly. It's a short adventure, only takes about 30 minutes to complete. Now the second game, on the other hand, Golden Axe 2 released on the SEGA Megadrive in Japan in 1991, with the US and EU versions coming out very early the next year. In this game, our 3 playable characters return on another adventure to get the Golden Axe. And hey, this time it actually looks golden instead of like bronze or green. Now I understand a lot of people have nostalgia for the way the first game opens, right? It's got an awesome title screen, but this one is it for me, man. This one gets me going. The music's swelling up as the camera pans over an army of dudes, and there's this guy on a throne. And this is important because there is a story I have to tell about this guy in particular. But let's choose our character and jump in, shall we? Oh my god, instantly I feel like I'm at home. I am in control. Right away, things feel snappier, like everything is slightly faster, the character actually reacts to quick button presses, the hitboxes feel way nicer, even though the enemy do still have the quick reaction time. The AI is... well, not a lot has changed there. They're still kind of dumb sometimes. It actually feels like now, if I'm getting hit and comboed, that it's my fault for not approaching the battle correctly. Yeah, the general game feel here is vastly improved. But in terms of how these characters play, well, they're pretty much the same. Like, whether you count that as a positive or a negative, I guess, is up to you, considering, you know, if you're used to the way the first game is, you're pretty much going to know what to expect from this one, but they also don't change it up all that much. Some of the changes that are of note though is that now you can actually direct which way you throw an enemy, which is incredibly useful if you want to get that cheeky hit in. Now, if you press the attack and jump button at the same time, instead of doing a singular strike, you do more of an AoE attack. It knocks away enemies in front and behind you, so it gives you a bit of space. And lastly, the magic now has a system in which you can hold down the button to choose how much magic you actually use. It's really useful to have this flexibility because you can choose whether to go all out or to just use one bit of magic to kind of clear space again. My favorite part is the fact that there's an option to just have it act like Golden Axe 1, where it uses it all at once. It's kind of wild to me that it's just a few of these changes and making the combat feel more snappy and responsive makes this game like so much better for me. But don't get me wrong, this adventure is still far from easy. I can safely say without a doubt, as a kid, I never beat this game. I tried. Oh boy, did I try. I played this a lot. I'd get close. Often I'd get to the level which contains the scene you see from the beginning, which I, for the longest time, thought was the final boss. Like, oh, I've always seen this room in the intro. This must be the final confrontation. That's why the intro is an iconic part of my nostalgia for this game, because for the longest time, I never knew. But that could also be because I often played on easy mode, and this is one of those games where you can only get to the ending if you play one of the harder difficulties. Golden Axe 1 actually had this with its beginner mode, where you could only play 3 stages of the 8. When you get to the end, you'd actually fight a little Death Adder Jr. guy. Look at him. Ooh, he's so cute. There's actually quite a bit you can tweak in these games to adjust the difficulty. As mentioned before, you have the magic system being chargeable or not. In 2, you have direct difficulties you can pick, easy, normal, and hard, but you can also choose how much life you have. You can do this in the first game as well. You can choose between 3, 4, and 5 health. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing else tied to this. It is purely a choice on if you want to die quicker, I guess. So true gamers out there will play on hard mode with only 3 HP. Sadly, I'm not that hardcore, but I did beat hard mode with maximum health. Yeah, this game doesn't mess around. It is not afraid to throw a bunch of enemies at you, which again, will try to flank you and attack you while you're busy doing other things. But oh my god, the boss fights in this game. If it's a bunch of dudes, I can kind of deal with that, but you best learn how to deal with the actual boss type enemies, or else you're gonna take a bunch of damage. Their reaction time is lightning fast, especially these Minotaur dudes. Like, oh my god, they were the bane of my existence. But after many years of training, becoming the gamer that I am today, I finally managed to get to that room with a reasonable amount of lives left. And that's when I found out one more fight remained. And it's actually kind of easy. It's just a really cool spectacle. Like, the room you're fighting in looks awesome. He looks awesome. It's just his AI can easily be abused. He tries to summon skeletons, and that's just a perfect time to attack him. But man, he just looks cool while you kill him. In fact, I love the way this entire game looks. It's such a huge step up from the first, mostly because they remembered what color was. Like, they ease you in with the browns and greens and grays you're used to. But overall, the world is a lot more detailed, with a bit more set dressing here and there. It's a lot more varied, starting in the ravaged village, going to ancient ruins. I love the vibe of the enemy headquarters, and oh my god, the volcano level? This one does a lot better in making the areas feel completely different. And they're not afraid to use bolder colors. I mean, the final castle is green and purple. In general, I just think the visuals of this game are clean and they look great. They're colorful. No 2 areas feel the same. And even with the whole like recolored enemy means stronger thing that these games seem to do, they do it really well here, at least visually with the colors they choose. I love the gold looking ones. But of course, the large juicy cherry on top of all of this is the soundtrack. Oh my god, I love this soundtrack. We've taken the atmosphere of the original game and cranked it to 11. And honestly, Stage 1 specifically is up there as one of my favorite Mega Drive tracks in general. It's just such a feel-good track. It's definitely up there with, I guess, similar, we're gonna do this again, Streets of Rage 2's Go Straight. But when this game wants to turn up the intensity, the boss music, oh my god. It's just a really nice package overall. Great music, great art, great feeling gameplay, and quite a nice difficulty curve. Like, it will challenge you, but it is beatable. I struggle beating Golden Axe 1 today, right? It is tough. Golden Axe 2 is similar, but it makes up for it in feeling so much better to play, which means it feels like I can get further if I play well. Just to see if I could for this video, I tried playing it on hard mode. I don't know if I've ever done that, or if I have, it's been a long time ago, and I was actually able to win. Barely. I think I was on my last life, but I did it. In my opinion, the second game is everything the first game was, but better and more refined, and fixes any problems I had. And much like the first, this one will take you about a half an hour, maybe a bit more to beat. This is up there as one of my favorite games on the system. I grew up playing the second game. I also played the first game, but much like a lot of the games I played growing up on the Sega, my friend owned the first one. And for my whole childhood, these two games are the only ones I knew about. As far as I was concerned, that was all of them. It wasn't until many years later I found out about a third game. So, do we know how it happened? Unfortunately, we do not. God damn it. Who would murder Fun this way? What'll happen now? Fun is dead! They'll probably make a game you'll bitch about in a video. No, they wouldn't do that, would they? Golden Axe 3 came out in Japan for the SEGA Megadrive in 1993 and North America in 1995, but not Europe. Also, the North American version could only be got on the Sega channel. That doesn't bode well. I hope it's good. It's not. It's awful. I hate it. Man, I hate to sound like a broken record. This is just the Streets of Rage scenario again. First game, good. Second game, great. Third game, what happened? Like, on paper, it feels like I should enjoy this a lot more than I actually do. You start the game up, and while you have two familiar characters to pick, there are two entirely different ones. And this time without the use of weapons. And when you get in and start pressing buttons, you realize, wow, I have a big moveset. I have a ton of stuff I couldn't do before. For example, the attack and jump button does different attacks depending on the direction you press during. You can alter your attacks by pressing a different direction during a combo, and then holding the opposite direction and attack is to block. That all sounds great, I'm sure, but for some reason, I just could not get on with it. The block only worked about half the time, and when it did, there wasn't really a benefit. It doesn't really open an opportunity of attack, and considering the enemies still react as fast as lightning, they just attack again anyway. Normally with a jump attack knocking you down, and on the occasion due to me wanting to react quickly, I've tried to turn around an attack and accidentally blocked instead. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, but it happens just enough to be annoying. This is likely just because of how used to the second game's combat I am, but I played through this game 4 times, one with each character, and you'd think by the end I'd get used to the way the combat feels. To a point, sure, but it never felt good. And to be honest, there'd often be times that I'd be hitting buttons and not really sure what moves I'm trying to do, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what moves I'm using, because not only can I block, but the enemy can block as well. It is so frustrating to get to a boss and feel like you can't get anywhere because every single move you use is blocked to then be countered faster than Ultra Instinct. They also will do everything in their power to do singular strikes which knock you down, and meaning you have to get up and you try and go towards them because you got knocked away, and they'll just do it again. Oh, but then you get in close and you try to attack them and they block and do it again. I hate this. I actually got so tilted playing this game. By trying to make the combat more deep, it just wound up ruining everything. And hey, maybe I am just mad cause bad. I don't know if there's some like information I'm not aware of that makes this combat all click and feel good, but I'd think in 4 playthroughs I'd at least find something. And stop. Editor's note. Hi, me from like 3 weeks after playing the game 4 times. Listening back to what I said about if there was some method that I'm missing, perhaps, I actually went out and looked. I found a guide that did actually give some advice on how to better play through the game. So with that in mind, I actually gave it another go. And you know, there is some merit in what it said. It said to rely more on grabbing attacks from the top and bottom rather than going head to head. And I tried that, and you know, I did see some improvement different, especially early on. And after all that, giving it a 5th go, I must say that I still died at the same spot. Nothing's changed. It's bad. Of course, as usual, this is just my opinion, of course. When looking for music for this game, I see the comment section full of praise and fond memories. Maybe it's genuine, maybe they just haven't played it in a while, but either way, I just couldn't get on with it. But that is probably my only major complaint. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty big one, but I do remember my initial reactions when playing this game years and years ago was, oh god, what did they do to the graphics? Oh no, the music. It was actually very similar to how I felt about Streets of Rage 3. Okay, I'll stop. But I must say, after playing it for so many times, it's really grown on me, actually. I really do enjoy how this game looks and sounds. It certainly wins me over more in the audio department than it does the visuals. I really enjoyed the second's cleaner character sprites but more detailed environments. Because while I don't dislike the characters from 3, the world seems a little bit too tiled? Does that make sense? Like, there are certainly some exceptions. I think the jungle level is pretty nice. I just felt like the second game's levels felt a bit more organic. But I tell you what 3 really dropped the ball on: the magic. Oh man, I was so disappointed. To go from these really cool, detailed, colorful spells to this pixelated mess just feels like a big step down to me. And like, what they did with the magic system is a strange middle ground to the first and seconds. You can no longer charge your magic meter. You use whatever you have available all in one go. Spells can be 1 mana, 3 mana, and full mana. So in this one, when you use your magic and you have 4 magic potions, you'll only use 3 magic potions and cast your level 2 spell, leaving you with a magic potion left over, which you can then use at a later time. Another unique thing about this game is if you're playing with a friend in co-op, you can combine your magic together. Which I don't have any footage of because I didn't have anyone to play with. I mean, it seems like a fine enough system. I prefer the flexibility of the second game's magic. So again, this does feel like a step in the wrong direction, but if it is, it ain't by much. Now, I'd originally thought the music was a step down, but the more I listen to it, yeah, the more it grows on me. Like, I really enjoyed these tracks. I still feel like I prefer 2's, but that is definitely because of nostalgia. I think what makes this one stand out more is, in comparison to the previous 2, the actual looping of the music is a bit longer. And it's not like I felt like the tracks from the previous were too short, but having slightly longer loops does increase the listening experience with decreased repetition. Considering you spend quite a bit more time in the levels in this one, it does make sense that they're a bit longer. Actually, the overall adventure is a bit more lengthy this time. It'll likely take you around 50 minutes to an hour, depending on how well you do at the fighting and which path you take. Yeah, at certain points in this game, you're able to go different routes, which does make the replayability way nicer. In all my attempts, I couldn't beat it, which is a shame because I've seen the final boss and dude looks cool. This design is awesome. Man, this sucks. I legit have so many things to praise the game about, but because I can't get on with the gameplay, I can't enjoy it. And it's starting to feel like the only way I can is as a spectator. I do feel like the other elements I enjoyed really allowed me to push through to see if I could make it work. And yeah, clearly, it's just not for me. If this had the same combat as the second game, I'd probably like it quite a bit, even though I think I would likely still prefer the second, for the various reasons I've mentioned. And of course, one of the big draws of this set of games is that they are co-op. Each of these titles can be played with a friend, which of course, most of the time enhances any experience you have. I remember having a blast playing through 1 and 2 co-op with my friend when I was young, and of course I didn't have anyone to play with this time. And I'm looking forward to seeing if they can somehow capture the magic with whatever new entry they're working on. I suppose time will tell with that. But those were my thoughts on the Golden Axe series, Xbox 360 game not included. I'm actually really curious to hear back from anyone who grew up playing the third game to see if their opinion differs from mine. Because I've seen so much praise for the game and I'm just like, I don't get it. But hey, they're just opinions and mine's out there now. I would love to hear yours. Those were my memories of Golden Axe. Thank you for watching this episode of Pixelated Memories, and I'll see you next time. Hey, thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here and supporting me with your eyes, your ears, and for those who do a little extra. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, can you give the video a like? It does help out. And if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe so you can see more of my videos in the future. Sorry for the delay on this a little bit, had some health things, but things are looking good now, so should be going as normal. And once again, thank you for watching. See you next time.